Hi there everyone. In this video, I will be discussing inductive and deductive reasoning. So, this is module 5 for our topics in mathematics in the modern world. Now, for your attendance in the comment section below, I want you to comment down your name, your course, and your block number so that you will be identified. Okay, let's start. Starting with the definition for both inductive and deductive reasoning. For inductive reasoning, it is the process of making generalization based on observed patterns in a set of data. So let's take a look, or let's take a closer look at the given definition. So we make generalizations based on observed patterns. So meaning, you need to observe and recognize patterns in a given set of data before you make certain generalizations. So, from specific examples, from given specific examples, you need to create generalizations or general statements. Let me write that down. So again, that's for inductive reasoning. We proceed from specific to general. Next, we have deductive reasoning. By definition, it is the process of showing that certain statements follow logically from agreed upon facts. So again, the process of showing that certain statements follow logically from agreed upon facts. So, by the way, deductive or to deduce means to reason from known facts. So from given facts or from given general statements, you need to give certain or specific examples. So these are inverses or opposite of each other. So for inductive, you proceed from specific to general. For deductive, you are given general statements. These are the facts, the agreed upon facts. So general statements. We proceed to specific statements. So again, inductive reasoning, that's specific to general. Deductive reasoning, that's general to specific. Let's have some examples for you to better understand those concepts. Let's start with some examples for inductive reasoning. For item number 1, we are given certain shapes or figures. The first figure there, as shown, is a figure with 3 sides. Now that's commonly known as a triangle. The second figure is a shape or a figure that has 4 sides. That's commonly called or generally called a quadrilateral. The third figure, let's try to count. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a figure having 5 sides, and that is generally called a pentagon. Now the fourth figure, if we try to count, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it has 6 sides, and a figure with 6 sides is usually called a hexagon. Now if you try to observe the 4 shapes, so the first one, it has 3 sides, the second one has 4, the third one has 5, the fourth one has 6 sides. So basing on those given examples, what general statement or what can you possibly conclude so that we will be able to identify what the next shape would be? So you can try to pause the video, you can try to think so that you'll be able to identify or determine the answer. But here, for item number 1, since here we have 3 sides, 4, 5, and 6, basing on those examples, we can conclude that, or we can make a general statement that we simply add one side to the next figure. So since the previous figure has 6 sides, it's likely that the next figure has 7 sides. So if we try to draw that one, that will look like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So most probably it will look like this. And a figure having 7 sides is a figure that we call as a heptagon. Okay? Next, for number 2, we have the set of numbers 2, 6, 12, 20. So again, you can pause the video. You can try to observe the set of numbers so that you'll be able to determine a certain pattern, so that we can make generalizations, or we can make a general statement in order to determine what the next number in the certain pattern will be. So that's 2, 6, 12, and 20. If we take the difference between the two numbers, 2 and 6, that is 4. 6 and 12, the difference there is 6. 12 and 20, the difference there is 8. So there we can observe something. We have a certain pattern. So the difference is 4, the difference is 6, the difference is 8. So in your mind, you might think that you simply add 2 to the difference from the first term going to the second term. So here, if you add 4, if you add 6, if you add 8 to get the next term, what do you think is that certain number that we need to add in order to get the next term? So if your answer is 10, you're correct. Therefore, the missing term or the next term should be 30, because since the difference there is 4, the difference is 6, the difference is 8. From 20 to the next term, the difference should be 10. Okay? Number 3, item number 3, we have the set of numbers 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and a certain missing number. So try to observe from 1, how or in what way did it become 2? From 2, how did it become 4? From 4, how did it become 8? And so on. So again, you can pause the video. You can try to think so that you'll be able to determine the answer. But for number 3, if you take a look at the numbers, it's basically, or the pattern is basically multiplying the previous term by 2 in order to get the next term. So that's 1 multiplied by 2, that gives us 2. Multiplied by 2, that gives us 4. Multiplied by 2, that gives us 8. Multiplied by 2, that's 16. Multiplied by 2, that's 32. Therefore, the next term or the missing number is 64, because 32 multiplied by 2 will give us 64. Okay. Fourth, I think this is very easy because previously we already talked about sequences, and during our discussion with sequences, you were able to identify certain patterns in order to get next terms, or next terms of a certain sequence. Number 4, we have 5, 15, 25, 35, and 45. So if we try to take a look at those numbers, if we closely observe, we can determine that the pattern is simply adding what number? So it's simply adding 10, right? Because 5 plus 10 is 15, plus 10 that's 25, plus 10 that's 35, plus 10 that's 45. We can also say that the common difference is 10. Here, we can say that our common ratio is 2, right? If you can still recall, this is a geometric sequence. This is an arithmetic sequence. Anyway, knowing that the pattern is adding the number 10, therefore, the next term or the missing number here is 55. I hope you got the correct answer. I hope that you're able to figure it out or identify the missing terms or numbers. If you have questions, kindly comment your sections or kindly type your questions in the comment section below so that I'll be able to entertain and answer your queries. Number 5. Number 5, we are given shapes again. So here, that's a rectangle or a certain quadrilateral. Here, there are already 2. So 2 adjacent rectangles or 2 rectangles placed side by side. Third figure now shows 3. So obviously, if you take a look at the certain examples, you will be able to make a generalization that the missing figure should have how many rectangles? It should have 4 rectangles, or it should look like this. Okay? So we're done discussing or talking about inductive reasoning. Let's now proceed with deductive reasoning. To better understand deductive reasoning, we use what we call as syllogism. So syllogism, this is an argument composed of 3 statements. So what are these statements? So first one, we have what we call as the major premise. So the major premise is the general statement. Because as I've told you earlier, deductive reasoning, we proceed from general statements to specific. So second, we have what we call as our minor premise. Now the minor premise, this is a specific statement. And the third, we need to produce or create a conclusion based on the 2 statements, the major premise and the minor premise. Let's have an example. Suppose we have this example. All men are mortal. That's our general statement. For our specific statement, we have Gino is a man. So again, general statement, all men are mortal. Specific statement, Gino is a man. So based on those 2 statements or those 2 premises, we can conclude, by the way, this is the symbol for therefore, right? So again, based on the 2 statements, we can conclude that therefore Gino is mortal. Why? Because the general statement said that all men are mortal. Now Gino is a man. This is a certain specific example. Therefore, as a conclusion, Gino is a mortal. Let's have other examples. Let's have example number 1. For example number 1, the general statement says, warm-blooded animals are mammals. For the specific statement, it states that a bulldog is a warm-blooded animal. So, given those statements, what can you conclude, or what generalization can we create? So feel free to pause the video. You can try to think so that you'll be able to identify the answer or determine the answer. So for example, number 1, so warm-blooded animals are mammals. A bulldog is a warm-blooded animal. Therefore, we can conclude that a bulldog is a mammal. I hope you got the same answer. Okay. Number 2. For the general statement, it says all bread is made of flour and eggs. For the specific statement, it says that pandesal is a bread. So, therefore, we can conclude that pandesal is made of flour and eggs. Alright. Example number 3. All high school students are courteous. Bernard is a high school student. Therefore, we can conclude that Bernard is courteous. So, I hope that you understood or you got the important concepts for this discussion. Again, if you have questions or if you have certain confusions, feel free to comment your questions below in the comment section so that I will be able to entertain and answer if ever you have or you need to be clarified of some concepts. So that's it for today, or that's it for this topic. I will be sending you an activity next week, or next week, so that you'll be able to practice answering questions in inductive and deductive reasoning. Thank you so much, you guys. You take care. Bye bye for now.